What's going on? It is the NFL experts. I'm Wayne G, joined as always by Mark D. What's going on, Mark?
I am good, Wayne G. How are you doing this fine evening?
I'm doing great, especially with some of these topics we're going to talk about. I do have some feelings, maybe not as strong a feeling as I did about the prefix pre. I hope none of you have been using it wrong over the past week.
It's not preheat. Remember, it's not preheat.
Right. And it's not pre-packaged, it's just packaged. So, all right. So that said, obviously we want everyone to make sure they're catching us here live, but also, follow us on social media. We are at NFL Experts Pod on all the social media sites. That is, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, at NFL Experts Pod. And you can email us, NFLExpertsPod@gmail.com. However you decide to contact us, we are interactive. We do want to hear from you. We do want to take your ideas into consideration, because otherwise we're just going to talk about what we want to talk about. You guys, hopefully you like it, but talk about what you want to talk about.
Yeah, chime in, folks. We want to hear it.
Yeah, for sure. So that's where you can find us on social media at NFL Experts Pod. Very easy to remember. And like I said, Facebook, whatnot, interact with us. We have a page. You can certainly do that. We do have the live show. So if you're listening on Spotify, thank you for listening to the episode. But you can also watch us live, interact with us, and ask questions while the show is going on. And then you'll get to hear your name on the podcast when you listen to it next. So there you go. Those are the reasons to talk with us. First story we have to talk about, obviously, Frank Reich is fired. Now, it seems 'tis the week or weeks for firing coaches mid-season, apparently.
Bum, bum, bum.
I didn't get this one because it was 11 games into his coaching. Like, I mean, are you kidding me? Like, you gave a guy a rookie quarterback and you give him 11 games and kick him out? Like, what is that?
Well, first, can we talk about the owner? The owner is absolutely ridiculous. He's got to be a worse owner than Jerry Jones when it comes to meddling. It's been well known that he was the one that pushed for Bryce Young, even though Frank Reich wanted C.J. Stroud. C.J. Stroud was more of the type that Reich probably would have wanted to coach, but the owner owns, so he overruled. And so what do you think about that? What do you think about the owner, Wayne?
Well, again, I hear a lot of meddling stories. I think a story came out today. I saw it online. And it said that at one point he handed a play to the offensive coordinator and was like, "Hey, I saw the Cleveland Browns run this. You guys should run this next week."
Wow.
And I was like, it really led to the question. And I know we talked about this off the air, so let's bring it onto the air, which is how much meddling is too much meddling? Because I mentioned this. I said, if I pay $4 billion for a team, it's not just to sit in the box seat. Like, I want to have say in who the coach is. Even though I hire a personnel guy to do that for me, even though I hire a GM, if you're going to bring in a free agent, talk to me about it. You know what I mean? Like, I want to be involved in everything. I'm not going to be the one pulling the trigger, but I want to be involved. I think when you start handing plays to the offensive coordinator, that's a little too much.
Yes, because they already tried that, didn't they? They had him play. They had him be the offensive coordinator for like 2 games, and then Reich took the game's play calling back over. But like I was saying, this owner is very impatient. He claimed in his press conference, we're going to play a clip of, that he's not impatient. But even though he's fired 5 coaches in the 6 years that he's on the team, 3 head coaches that he fired midseason, 2 interim head coaches, and just one little bit of funny note: he owns the pro soccer team in Charlotte, and he also fired 2 coaches there, one of whom went to the playoffs. Tell me this guy is not impatient.
Well, you mentioned the clip, so let's play the clip here. You're going to hear a reporter asking him about his patience, and this is his kind of long-winded answer. The whole clip's about a little bit over a minute, so here you
go. When Matt was hired, you preached patience, and it was kind of a year-over-year evaluation. Frank gets fired 11 weeks in. To what extent was that due to maybe a philosophical shift in how you view timelines for a rebuild or turnaround?
Look, as I said, there are reasons for each individual situation. I think you guys, upon your own reflection into looking what happened through the season, can understand that. You're around town, for those that are around town, and can know the reasons. Again, I'm not going to get into that into those particulars, but I do have patience. I'm just not. My reputation away from this game is one for extreme patience. There's no reason why that doesn't, come here too. It does. Now, that patience comes with good performance and things that you want to see progress be made on different aspects. And as you know, as I said, I would like to have somebody here for 20, 30 years. I'd like to have somebody that would say eulogy at my funeral in 30 years. Okay, maybe it's 40 years, I hope. But that's what I'd like to have.
All right, so it's so funny because he really danced around the whole thing. The thing that he said in this answer, and he said it in every answer that he gave in this press conference, was, you guys look around, you know what it's about. You talk to people, you know what it's about. People around the league know what it's about. I don't know what it's about. Like, what
Me
even
neither.
is it?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe Reich has a reputation of something that me and you don't know about, or maybe the NFL people do. Um, I don't know. Maybe it's the whole Bryce Young, CJ Stroud thing. I'm not sure, man.
I don't know either. And especially if people do, quote unquote, know about it, right? Then why would you hire him in the first place if he's got some sort of a reputation? I just don't understand. And if it's the CJ Stroud / Bryce Young thing, right, which seems like it's an in-house matter that, the owner wanted one. And if everybody in the league and everybody, quote unquote, around town knows about it, then somebody's blabbing around town about internal stuff.
Yeah. So what I think is funny is that Frank Reich got a longer tenure in Indy with Irsay than he did with Tepper. Like, how is that? Like, Irsay's like a meddling owner also, and he's not even as bad as this guy.
Well, because when his first year in Indy, he had Andrew Luck, who was not a rookie, was in his prime, had established himself. So I think that he had a little bit more success early on. But that's what I'm saying with this team is you have a rookie, a wide receiver, a rookie quarterback. It's a new system for this kid, and 11 games in, you already know it's not going to work. I don't understand that.
Honestly, I think to me, like I keep preaching the owner because I think a lot of the blame is falling on Reich. Like we talked about scapegoat last week. I feel like this is kind of a scapegoat for Tepper. So he's like, I'm not impatient, blah, blah, blah. Everybody in the NFL knows what I'm talking about, blah, blah, blah. But none of us know what he's talking about. Like, can we admit that Frank Reich has kind of gotten a bad rap as a head coach? First, he comes into Indy as the head coach, coming off of Josh McDaniels quitting and hiring a whole staff. He has to step into that. Then Andrew Luck retires, right? Then a couple of years, then he has to go through the gauntlet of veteran quarterbacks, which is Carson Wentz, Phillip Rivers, and then he goes to Carolina, and this happens to him. Like the guy has never really got a fair shake as a head coach.
Well, he hasn't, and I think that's going to lead down kind of where we're going with this is who's going to want this job now? Like, what is next for the Carolina Panthers? Because I said a couple of shows ago when the Raiders fired Josh McDaniels, I said nobody's going to want to go there. They didn't even give him 2 years. This guy got 11 games. Who as a head coach is going to go in there knowing that 8, 9, 10 games into the season they could be gone?
Like I was saying, out of all the 3 coaches that he hired, he gave Matt Rule the longest, but he still fired him mid-year. And the other guys only had 1 year where they got fired. So, and then the interim coaches got fired. Like I said, that's 5 coaches, and he preaches patience, which he doesn't have when it comes to NFL decisions. Because if he really preached that, so what I think when I say this point is that he came from the Steelers, and he preaches this that he says in that little clip that he wants to have a coach to be there for 30 years or whatever. That's sort of what the Steelers have done over this time period. They've only had 3 coaches in their whole entire franchise. So my point is if he says this, that he wants to coach this long and he wants to sort of model his team after the Steelers, how come he's not doing it?
Well, to come to his defense on that note is I don't think the Steelers have had a losing season under Mike Tomlin, right? So this team is 1-10, so I don't think Tomlin's ever started that bad. And I'm not saying at this point in his career, like Belichick, I think he's earned the right to kind of have some bad seasons, but he hasn't had a bad year. Now, Reich, I understand, if you have a quarterback or you have a coach, it's just not working. And here's the other thing I'll say in defense, because I wrote some of this stuff down. Like the Panthers, even though they have the rookie quarterback, they've got Miles Sanders. They spent money on him in free agency because he ran for 1,300 yards last year. So they went and they got Miles Sanders. He's only started.
They got a bunch of different guys. They got Adam Thielen and a few other signs. You're right.
And Thielen's going to have a career year this year because he's the only one that Bryce Young is throwing the ball to. But my thing on Miles Sanders is you brought him in as a free agent, 1,300 yards last year. He averaged 4.9 yards per carry. he's only started 5 games for the Panthers this year. So he's your number one free agent signing, and he's only started 5 games. So I wonder if that has something to do with it around town. Like Frank Reich isn't playing the guys that he went out and paid money for. DJ Chark as well. DJ Chark is having a horrible year. Now, he didn't have a great year last year in Detroit. He was injured a lot. But I mean, I'm looking at DJ Chark, Adam Thielen, Jonathan Mingo, Hayden Hurst, Terrence Marshall. You look at their defense: Derek Brown, C.J. Henderson, Brian Burns, Xavier Woods. J.C. Horn is hurt. But this is a team that, on paper, should not be 1-10.
But like maybe it's one of these things, Wayne. Let me throw this at you. Maybe it's one of those that Reich wanted Stroud, the owner wanted Young. We see how C.J. Stroud's doing. Reich isn't gelling with Young, so maybe that's why this came to a head.
Maybe, in which case I would put that on Reich and not on the owner, because here's my thing: if I order a bologna sandwich and I need to eat, like they needed a quarterback, I need to eat, so I order a bologna sandwich, and they bring me
bologna is disgusting, by the way.
I love bologna. So they bring me bologna. So I ask for a bologna sandwich, and they bring me shrimp. I don't like seafood. Okay,
I love shrimp.
Yeah. But they bring me what I don't like, and I'm starving, right? Am I going to eat it with my feet because I ordered a bologna sandwich? Or am I just going to eat it because I got to eat something? Like, I don't care who he wanted at quarterback. You get what you get. Now you have to make the most out of it. So maybe that is his fault that he always held this grudge that he didn't get his guy. And I don't know. You can't do that as a coach because you're not the owner.
Like, my theory is, like, I always have these weird theories, Wayne. I should tell you now before I, like, start throwing them out there. Like, every so often I just get these theories. And I think that most of those guys in that organization wanted Bryce Young. They all were like, this is the guy we want. This is the guy we want. But Reich was, no, I want CJ Stroud. He's more of the guy that I think I can coach and I can make this team good with his guy. And I think at the last minute, sort of, I think that all those other people in the organization convinced him, like, Young's the guy. And he's like, and he probably was like, all right, let's do it. And then after he got him in there and started coaching him, he realized, like, this isn't my guy.
Well, he's not a bad player, though. It isn't like he got Mac Jones. He got somebody who's mobile, who can throw on the run, who can hit. He's got decent arm strength. It's I don't know what you're looking at. And the thing, too, is Stroud's having an amazing year, but I've always said this. He could have gone to Carolina and been 1-10. And Bryce Young would be the rookie of the year in Houston. We don't know, right? We just don't know how that would work.
Well, and also, I kind of don't understand why, like, I get Bryce Young went to Alabama and he was good, but he basically played on an all-star team. Most Alabama teams are all-star teams. Like, Bryce Young is little, he's brittle, dude. They got to play in a spread offense all the time because he's so little. Like, he can't take a hit because he'll be done for. So I feel like Reich was sort of handcuffed in some way in the offense because he's like, he can only do so much with this little guy.
Well, maybe they needed Sean Payton because Drew Brees was 5'11", and he worked a spread offense pretty well.
Hey, that's my guy. Hey, no.
Well, speaking of coaches, we're going to talk about a few more coaches, and I do have some thoughts on this in just a second. So the question is, who's next? There's coaches on the hot seat, and I wrote this down, and I think I might have said it to you yesterday, but we've got 3 coaches pictured here. We've got, Brandon Staley, Ron Rivera, Bill Belichick, right? And I know I've touched on the Belichick thing a little bit ago, but I'm going to bring it up again because I did have some stats written down here. So Ron Rivera in Washington is 26-35-1. Brandon Staley in LA is 23-22. Bill Belichick is 300-161. He has
you should go off of his record without Tom.
Oh, okay. Well, we're not 300.
Come
9
on,
Super Bowl
That's
appearances.
What we're judging it off. We're judging off the recency bias. Come on,
Yeah.
you know
6
that.
Super Bowl championships. Like, the Green Bay did not fire Lombardi. Dallas did not fire Landry. The Steelers did not fire Knoll, nor did they fire Cowher. Right? You have guys who have success. They earn the right to coach as long as they want, no matter what. So, like I was saying, reading those wins to you: 23, 30, 26, 300. Which one of these is not like the others?
Agreed.
Yeah. So let's talk about the two.
Like I was saying, let's go off of the years without Tom. He's only made one playoff appearance without Tom, and it's been what, 4 seasons now?
This is his fourth.
Fourth, and they've been abysmal. Besides that one playoff year,
When Mac Jones played great because he had Josh McDaniels there. The first
that's
year,
what people are basing this firing thing off of. Not like his. Sorry, my cats are fighting. But let's go off of that for like the years without Brady, because that's what everybody's talking about is who was really the success in New England. Was it Brady or was it Belichick? And as of the proof on the field, it kind of shows that it was Brady.
I think it shows it was a symbiotic relationship because coaches and quarterbacks mesh well together. You can say Brady if you're looking, again, at recency bias. But those first 3 Super Bowls that Brady won, that nobody remembers anymore because they weren't alive then, because everyone listening was 12 years old. So those first 3 that Brady won, the defense won those. Like, that was a Belichick team.
True. I will agree with you on that. Mm-hmm.
In fact, all the fans said it. All the fans were like, you can plug and play any quarterback in there. Belichick's got a great system. Brady's a system quarterback, And now then Brady, the second 3, Brady was an all-star, slinging it all over the field, MVP. So a different player. But that's why I say it's a symbiotic relationship. And I wish we had Brady. We don't. That first year with Cam Newton, I think we all give Belichick a pass for that. I don't think anyone can blame Belichick for how Mac Jones has turned out. If anything, I think that it's Kraft problem. I think Kraft is the one that wanted Jones in the first place. Belichick didn't want to draft him. And then Kraft is the one that's been pushing Mac Jones to keep playing, even though Belichick keeps benching him.
Well, then I have a question for you. Then is it then Belichick just hasn't found his quarterback? You think that's what it is?
I think that's what it is. I think that he would like a different quarterback, and I think that they need a better system there. But yeah, definitely Mac Jones doesn't seem to get it.
Well, then why would they draft Mac Jones then?
Because they needed a quarterback, and the guy that Belichick wanted, the Bears traded up and took him. So
Belichick wanted Fields? I did not know that.
Belichick wanted Fields, and then Jones was the last guy on the board. So if you didn't take him, then you're waiting until the 2nd, 3rd, 4th round to draft a quarterback, and you needed somebody like now.
Huh. See, I didn't know that. Interesting. Very interesting.
That's that. I did want to talk Ron Rivera. He's out after this year. I mean, definitely. He can't do anything to save his job. Eric Bieniemy was brought in there to be the heir apparent. So I think that when Rivera's out, I'm surprised they don't fire him midseason to give Bieniemy a little bit of a head start as the head coach, because I think that's the plan, and that was the plan all along when they brought him in.
I feel like Riviera should have never left Carolina, so maybe they wouldn't be. They're having their issues that we just talked about.
Well, although, Carolina, it's different when you have Cam Newton. I mean, was it Cam Newton or was it Ron Rivera? I don't know.
But see, I really want to talk about Brandon Staley.
Yes.
Like what is the Chargers, their woes? Where does it come from? Does it come from Herbert, who hasn't really shown that he can really get over the hump? He can throw many yards, touchdowns, all that. He's awesome, but he hasn't gone over that hump. Or is it Staley? Like he's the defensive coach, and his defense is horrible. And they've got a lot of pieces.
It's absolutely Staley, because I think it's what you say that Herbert hasn't gotten over that hump. He's thrown for over 5,000 yards 2 or 3 times now. What hump? Does he got to throw for 14,000 yards in a season? 100 touchdowns?
He got to win a playoff game. He can't go up 20-some points on the Jaguars and lose the game.
That's right, but he's also playing in a 22-man team, not the NBA where it's a 5-man team, and one guy like Michael Jordan can make the difference and carry the team. Your quarterback can't carry the team. If you're
No, true. I'm going to say a statement that it really annoys me, but it's a QB-driven league. So it's like that's what everybody's going to base their success on is the quarterback. If he hasn't succeeded yet, it's going to be like we were talking about Josh Allen. It's like at some point, when is it he got to put up or shut up?
Well, Josh Allen is one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the NFL right now. So, and I think when you look at the top 5, I think Herbert's in that conversation. And that's why I'm saying, like, what hump does he have to get over? Because here's the thing. So let's look at Staley versus Herbert. All right. The Chargers offense is 8th in scoring in the NFL. Their defense is 24th.
No, I'm not arguing with you, Wayne. I agree with you that it's totally Staley. Like, he definitely needs to be fired. Like, he should have been fired last year after that debacle of a playoff game that I just mentioned. Like, that's hugely on the defense that they couldn't stop the Jags in the second half. Like, come on. You're a defensive head coach, and you can't stop him?
And he's going to be fired, and here's why. Is because last year when his defense was 21st, his defensive coordinator was Ronaldo Hill, and he got rid of Ronaldo Hill, and he brought in a new defensive coordinator. So he's already played the scapegoat card. You can't do it again. So it's him now. His head's in the chopping block.
Yep. So like I'm with you. I feel like they fire him this year, but I feel like the Chargers is like it's going to be a very desirable job. Don't you think?
I think the Chargers is going to be a wildly popular job because they have so much talent on both sides of the ball, and because you have a top 5 quarterback. I mean, who doesn't want to coach a top 5 quarterback? Everybody does. The question is like, who are going to be those candidates, right? I mean, John Harbaugh or not Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh will be mentioned in there. No, it's John. Which one's Michigan? Jim is Michigan. Yeah, Jim's going to be mentioned in that. You're going to see probably Bieniemy might be mentioned, but like I said, I think he's the heir apparent in Washington.
I mean, whoever the top candidate is, that's the top job. So, I heard rumblings of Belichick going to the Chargers, that he was already like preset to go there and blah, blah, blah. And he was asked about it, and he basically said that was absolutely ridiculous, so I agree with you about the whole Patriots thing also, Wayne, even though I'm not a fan.
Theoretically, and let's just say hypothetically, the world comes crashing to an end, and Bill Belichick did leave to go to the Chargers. Now I think the New England Patriots is one of the most attractive jobs because they actually have the Patriot way is set in stone when you walk in the building, whether Belichick's there or not. Like that's how they do business.
Right. No, you're right. That would be another desirable job.
Although not with Mac Jones there.
True. But they might have Justin Fields next year. Like we were talking off air that maybe he could be available and he could be a Patriot next year, possibly.
Well, that would be great. In fact, we're going to talk a little bit about a couple quarterbacks from another team right now. All right, so there's a Vikings situation at quarterback because Jaron Hall is apparently healthy now, right? And so he can start to come back. And the question is, do they go with Hall? Do they go with Dobbs? Because Dobbs has been playing okay. I don't know. I'm curious to get your thoughts on this because I'm not a Vikings fan. I know you're not either, but obviously you got to see Dobbs against the Broncos, and he didn't do so well there. I mean, what would be your train of thought here if you're the Vikings?
Well, they got Dobbs, and they have – what's the other guy's name?
Jaron
Hall. And then they have Nick Mullins, which I heard that he might be starting this week. And he started some games for the Niners. He did all right. I don't know, man. I feel like they're in trouble. They kind of were on a hot streak. I feel like they should just keep with Dobbs. Maybe just ride it out, man. That's what I think.
Well, I think Dobbs gives you the best chance to win, is what I think it is. But it really depends on how they view the situation because Dobbs is an unrestricted free agent at the end of the year. So is Kirk Cousins. Jaron Hall's a rookie this year, so you got him for 4 years. So do you play Jaron Hall and say, hey, maybe he's our quarterback of the future? Let's put him in there and let's see if he's the guy. But he was also a 5th-round pick, so it's not like a guy that you took in the first round that you're expecting to be the starter. You took him to be a backup, and if he is a starter, then whatever. So it makes me again, do they want to lose? Because I went to your site that you recommended last week, Tankathon, went and checked them out.
Pretty cool, huh?
Yeah, they have the Minnesota Vikings currently slated as the 20th pick in the draft. So at this point, if they keep winning and losing at a 500 clip, they're going to end up with the 20th pick, the 19th pick. They're not going to get one of those top quarterbacks.
Nope. So
they need to lose the rest of these games just to even have a chance.
Well, I'm glad you brought this up because what do you think about Kirk Cousins? I think that him and Connolly like gelled enough that they're probably going to bring him back
for a year. Because if they get a young quarterback, they're going to have Cousins groom that guy for a year and then be gone.
So you think they're just going to pay him? Because Cousins is going to want a guaranteed deal. So you think they're only going to give him a 1-year guaranteed deal?
That's all I would do. And if I'm the Vikings and he balks at that, I'd say, why don't you just go ask a few teams what they're willing to offer you? And
I feel like he'll have some takers, though.
Who's going to take Kirk Cousins?
Possibly the 49ers. I don't know. That's just a thought because there was like talks years ago that they wanted him, when he left Washington, but they didn't pull the trigger, But
what are they going to do with Brock Purdy?
I'm just throwing that out there, Wayne. But my main point is that I think Kirk Cousins is staying in Minnesota. I don't think they're going to give him a 1-year deal. I think they're going to give him another. How many years do you think Kirk Cousins got left? 4 or 5 years?
1.
Okay, whatever. I think he's got like 4 or 5 years left.
Okay.
and they're probably going to give him like a 3-4 year deal guaranteed, and he's going to stay in Minnesota, and because he likes it there. Connolly likes him. They gel together. I don't know. That's just what I think.
So you're the Minnesota Vikings general manager, and you're going to have Kirk Cousins tying up $40 or $50 million a year of your salary cap,
If he's helping us win, yes.
but he's not. He hasn't done it any year that he's been there.
Well, they won the division last year, and then they went to the playoffs the last 2 years. So I mean, they're doing the good things. He's done some good things.
So $40 or $50 million a year because he's got a couple participation trophies up on his wall.
That's just the going rate, Wayne. You know this.
Yeah, for a quarterback who can help you win. I'm not giving $40 or $50 million to Kirk Cousins unless it's for a 1-year deal. He's like, I'll give him $40 million for 1 year. He teaches my new rookie quarterback, but that would be part of my deal too. I'd be like, listen, man, you have to groom this guy. If I get word from the coaches that you're not grooming him and teaching him everything, then you're out. This contract is going to be null and void.
But like you said, who is he going to groom if they don't draft a guy? They're going to is this Hall the guy? Is Dobbs the guy that he's going to groom? Who's the guy he's going to groom?
If they aren't going to be in a position to draft a quarterback to groom, then I think Dobbs is the guy. Cousins walks. You give Dobbs a 3-year deal, and it's like $25 a year. Because
so you'd rather have Dobbs long term than Cousins?
Because he's going to cost less, and he's younger.
Yeah, but I don't know. I'm on the Kirk Cousins bandtrain if I'm a Vikings fan.
Okay, for multiple years. You're talking about 3 years of 8 wins.
That's why we're on the show, Dwayne. This is why we debate. You know, you don't like this, I like that.
It should be called NFL Expert. That's what it should be called.
Okay.
So, all right, so let's jump into another topic that I do feel a little bit passionate about this, topic, but not in the same way that most people do. We're going to talk about NFL officiating because this was proposed as, is it the worst it's ever been? And if you ask any fan, the answer is yes. And if you ask a fan last year, the answer is yes. And if you ask a fan the year before that, the answer is yes. Fans do not think that NFL officials are very good. I, on the other hand, as apparently the lone expert, believe that NFL officials are amazing. They're the greatest things in sliced bread. They're unbelievable at their jobs.
No, Wayne, you're way off base on this one, man. Okay, so for one, I'm the one that raised the question. Let's just be honest. I raised the question that has this been an all-time low, and it has been an all-time low because I watch the games every game, every Sunday, every Monday night game, every Thursday night game, every Sunday night game, and every time I watch the game, like every time a good play happens, my first thought in my head is, "Where's the call? There's gonna be a call." Like I shouldn't have that thought in my mind. Like for one. Two, I feel like the NFL should quit being so cheap and just pay the officials a yearly salary instead of part-time salary, and then maybe they would be better at officiating than they are. And there has been some calls that could have swayed games, but that happens all the time. But I just think that this year's been bad, but I will say that, like you said, every year the NFL fans think that officiating is bad, which it is. But you know why? It's our fault. Because every Sunday, like I was just saying, I tune in still to watch, even though I know the officiating is bad.
Well, you may be too young to remember several years ago, but the NFL had a little bit of a strike lockout with the NFL officials.
No, I was... I'm not that young, Wayne.
Okay, I don't know. I don't know if you remember. So basically, the officials, their part-time salary is like $250,000 a year, $300,000 a year. Not bad part-time. But let's take a look at what happened. Remember they brought in the replacement officials. If you watch those games,
that was terrible.
That was bad officiating, right? So that was bad. What we have now is not bad. Yes, they miss a call here and there, or they throw the flag. I kind of put that on the league a little bit because the league institutes like 25 new rules every year that they have to watch out for during the game, on top of all the other stuff.
Truth.
But that said, when I watch a game, this is why I think the NFL officials are amazing and the best officials of any sport. Better than basketball, way better than baseball. Baseball's the worst. But NFL officials are the best because I don't know how many times I've watched a game and they'll be like doing the thing like he caught the ball. And then you see like the 27 frames per second replay. And he did. You're like, how did they see that? Or like, I mean, holding. I know this is the one conspiracy theory I've heard. I'm curious to get your thought on this. Holding happens in every play. Everyone says it. It's just the way it is, right? But they don't call it in every play. Usually, you call it if the guy's wrapping him up or like tugging down
Where
on
it's
his jersey.
clearly obvious, yeah.
Egregious, yeah. But there are some holding calls that aren't egregious that get called. And I've heard this conspiracy theory that holding is how the NFL rigs the games for, gambling and whatnot. Because you can call holding on every play. So it's when they pick and choose to call it is to keep the score at a certain level.
I can see that, but to be honest with you, Wayne, I don't feel like they're that smart enough to do that. To be honest with you, like I don't know, just my opinion.
How dare you say such mean things about that? But no, so like I said, I'm pro officiating. Like I said, especially being somebody who grew up watching baseball. If you watch baseball and the pitch gets thrown into the third deck and they call it a strike, and then the pitch gets thrown down the middle and they call it a ball, and we're like, can we please just get a computer to call these balls and strikes? And they're like, no, we like human error in the game. No, you don't. You just complained about it twice. So with NFL officials, they do a great job. They do miss calls here and there. I hate when they miss a call on my team, like everybody does. But at the end of the day, if you're watching a game which is 125, 130 plays, how many plays are you really pissed about the officials? 4?
And you're right. You're only pissed when it's against your own team, Or if it's like in the Super Bowl last year where they threw that holding penalty call, like you said, at the very end of the game to let the Chiefs advance and eventually win the game. So like you were saying, it's like, but Wayne, I can't think that the game is rigged, because if it was, I couldn't be a fan.
Well, no, I think that we would like to. When I was a little kid, I thought wrestling was real. I thought Hulk Hogan was actually winning those matches.
Yeah, me too.
It's like, I don't know. We like to believe that. But while we're on officiating, I do want to bring up a topic that I don't have an overlay for, but it's something that we talked about in our chats, which is it's not so much officiating but gameplay. Josh Allen just lost an overtime game, right? And everyone's been saying these things about how like they changed the rule for Josh Allen, and then he's 0-6 or 0-5 since they changed the rule. And it's funny to say, but I don't think they changed the rule for Josh Allen. Like the NBA changed rules because of Wilt Chamberlain. They changed the rule because they felt like both teams should get a chance to have the ball on offense. But I'm curious to get your thoughts on the quote-unquote Josh Allen rule and how it hasn't worked in his favor.
Like you said, it wasn't necessarily named after him, but he was the catalyst. He was the reason why it kind of came to be. Like, and I agree that I honestly, like, there's all these thoughts about what the NFL should do about overtime, like how they should change the rules and whatever. I think they should just go to the old school college rules. Like, you just play another quarter. Whoever wins the game. Like, granted, it's harder. It's more time, whatever, harder on the players. But I feel like that's the only real fair way to do it. Like, you talk about how Josh Allen has failed at this, and it's also because he's the one that's been, like I was saying, he's the one that's been shown in the situation the most. So he's the one that gets picked out. And once again, this last week against the Eagles, he finally got the ball. The rules were changed for it in his favor, and he didn't win the game.
Yep. Well, so he hasn't won an overtime game since they changed the rules.
So, I mean, like, granted, he was the catalyst, but I mean, that still didn't really change much. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of it, and because I don't like the new college rules where each team gets the ball in the 30 or whatever, and they try to.
No, I meant the old, like I said, the old school college overtime. That's what I meant.
Yeah, I mean, that wouldn't be too bad. Just does it have to be a full 15-minute quarter? How about just like a 5-minute quarter, 10-minute quarter?
Well, I think they've tried that. It's got to be longer than that at least. It doesn't have to be a whole quarter, but it can't be 5 minutes. It's got to be longer than that.
I kind of like the idea of sudden death. I don't know. I kind of like the new rule, to be honest with you. I like that if the team that gets the ball first scores a touchdown, game over. If they kick a field goal, the other team gets a chance. And then if they punt, then it's basically sudden death after that.
Right. Like, I'm okay with the sudden death one too, because we had it for so many years. I got grown used to it. But now if I had to pick, I would pick the old school college rules. Play another quarter. It doesn't have to be a whole another 15 minutes. Maybe 10, maybe 9, whatever. Just enough time for both teams to get the ball and to play out that time and pick a winner,
Well, here's what I'm going to say is if you remember the 1989 film Batman with Michael Keaton, something that he said is that you want to get nuts? Yeah, let's get nuts, right?
Oh
so
yeah. Oh
if
yeah.
if I'm going to get nuts, here's my proposition: overtime, no offensive or defensive line. It's just receivers, corners, and the quarterback, and you got to stop the quarterback. Like a shell play, like the shell plays in practice.
And you want the game to be like that?
Yeah, that's fun.
Okay, you are nuts.
Let's get nuts. That's why I thought it'd be fun. All right, another area where I think we're going to disagree a little bit, but not as much as we have in the past, is going to be some power rankings. So let's jump into those.
Yeah.
NFL power rankings. We talk about these every week. Mark and I have our own power ranking system. Mark makes his up off the top of his head. I have a computer that analyzes every single statistic and compares it against the season statistics. So let's talk about Mark's first. Mark always does a top 10. I do a top 32 because I really do every team broken down. So I'm going to bring up the graphic here. If you're listening, you should be watching so you can see the graphic. But we've got the Eagles at number 1, the 49ers at number 2. I don't think that's changed much. Nope. Ravens at 3, Chiefs, Dolphins, Jaguars, Cowboys, Lions, Steelers, and of course we have the Broncos now at 10. And I'm guessing that is the recency bias.
Come on, Wayne. Yes, it is recency bias, but we got to admit, my Broncos have won 5 in a row. Mm-hmm. We've beaten some really good teams. So are you arguing with me that they should not be top 10? At least this week?
They're not in my top 10. They're not in my top 15.
Well, because you're going by, like you said, the stats, but I'm going by like the wins and losses. Okay, so I put the Broncos in at number 10. I really debated this a lot, but we beat all the other teams that in my ranking that were higher than us, which was like the Browns, the Bills, and the reason I put us above the Texans is because I think we're going to beat them this week, and then once we beat them, we're going to be above them in the rankings. So that's why I put them at number 10.
Well, they gave up 70 points and 800 yards to the Dolphins. So how did they get above them at some point?
How do they get up? I don't know if we ever will because we won't beat them in the top. If in this power rankings, if that comes to be, they probably won't ever be on top of the Dolphins, especially because if it comes to record.
Well, I'm glad that something's keeping them in check. And again, you have the Eagles at number 1 just because they're 10-1. I'm sure that's the
yep. And the way that they beat the Bills.
Okay, well, we've got the Eagles and the 49ers coming up. Who do you think is going to win that game?
That's going to be tough, man. Is like I think my power rankings are going to change. Is whoever wins that game is going to be number 1, and I think that the Niners are going into it healthy. So I feel like I feel like the Eagles have been on this winning streak for so long that at some point it's going to end, and the Niners are the team to beat them.
Yeah, I think so. I think they're going to beat them by a lot too, just like they did with the Cowboys. And I just want to take a look at this chart one more time. Let's see here: Lions, Steelers. I don't love the Steelers. I got to be honest with you, man. The Steelers, to me, they're the worst team.
I'm glad that you brought that up because I debated that one in my head a lot. Like, the only reason I put them on there because they are 7-4.
Right.
You know,
they're being outscored. They're being outgained in yards.
I know. I'm glad that you brought that up because I was like, how is this team 7-4 when they're outgained and almost outscored in every game, but they're still winning these games? I don't get it. But like, they're 7-4. Like, I had to put them in there.
All right, well, let's look at what the supercomputer had to say, because the supercomputer does have the 49ers in first place by a mile, 359.04. Now, this is points per game based on points, yards, turnovers. You get 100 points just for a win. You could lose 100 points for a loss. So imagine that. 10 wins for the Eagles. That's 1,000 points they've gotten, and they're still only at 157.79. I actually brought up the point when I posted these initially. The Eagles improved to 10-1, and they lost 20 points per game.
See, like that, to me, that seems like a flaw in your system a little bit.
But it's not because they gave up way too many points to the Bills and too many yards to the Bills. So even though they won that game by the hair on their toes, to be clean, they still barely won that game.
Chin.
Oh, sure, the chin, yeah. So, I wasn't thinking of anywhere other than the chin or the toe. But they barely squeaked by, and they barely squeaked by every single win. and then they lose to the Jets. That loss to the Jets, by the way, was like a negative 600 for them on the season. Like that really chopped off.
Yeah, dude, that's another boggling thing is how do they lose to the Jets? Like,
I don't know. That's why they're the 4th ranked team. I do have the Cowboys above them. That really pisses off Eagles fans having the Cowboys above the Eagles. But the
I
Cowboys
don't doubt that at all.
and 120 points ahead of them too. It's like, but just because again they've totally outperformed them on the season. Now, I did have some stats here about who moved up and down the most.
Didn't you say that my Broncos were the most rise?
The Broncos had the highest rise, but they gained 60 points per game after their win against the Browns. So that jumped them up quite a bit. I mean, the Broncos are now in 21st. So they're
almost out of the negative. Almost.
Yeah, they're at negative 42. So if they get another plus 60, they're going to be in the positive. The Browns had the biggest loss. They had negative 54 after that loss to the Broncos. So that had the biggest rise spot-wise. The Dolphins went from 9 to 6. The Colts went from 16 to 13, so 3 spots. And then the biggest fall was also 3 spots. The Browns from 5 to 8, the Lions from 6 to 9, the Vikings from 11 to 14, and the Bengals from 13 to 16. But everybody else pretty much stayed the same or moved 1 spot. But yeah, so that's where we're at with the supercomputer power rankings. I don't know. I think it's a pretty fair analysis. There's no opinion. I've seen people, every time I post it, somebody's like, yeah, well, your opinion sucks. Like, it's not my opinion. There's no opinion involved.
They could say that about mine.
People like yours better because you had the Eagles in first. So.
Well, like I said, that might change next week. We will see.
All right, so that's the power rankings. We got those. You can see our power rankings on the websites. You can see it on Twitter. You can see it on Instagram. You can see the power rankings on Facebook at NFL Experts Pod. Check it out. That way you can see the visual instead of just listening. And
yes, please, people also chime in on both of our power rankings. Maybe say like what you think, who you like, opinion more, maybe mine, maybe Wayne's. Who knows? Just throw that out there.
And it's not my opinion, just to reiterate. It's just
all right, you know what I mean. Well, you know what I meant.
So let's get to our 2-minute warning. All right, the 2-minute warning is really where we have the time to talk about whatever we want. Usually it's our teams. And so, Mark, did I make you go first last week?
You did. I was just going to say it's your turn first this week, sir.
So we're talking about the Patriots, and I already gave my gripe about Belichick, about the whole Bill Belichick to be fired. He's not going to be fired. Second, I was so excited today. Did I mention this earlier in the show? Maybe I mentioned it off the air. I think I mentioned it off the air. That Malik Cunningham is taking snaps at quarterback. So is Bailey Zappi. You know who's watching them take snaps? Mac Jones, standing there like a spectator. He's not going to get any snaps come Sunday.
No, Wayne loves that.
I love it. I'm hoping Malik Cunningham gets in there. I mentioned this off the air because, listen, they're going to lose, and I want them to lose. I want Jaden Daniels so bad I can taste it. So I know it's kind of early for our draft stuff, but I want Jaden Daniels over anybody else, and unfortunately, I think he's going to be the number 1 pick in the draft. But that's the guy I want. And, Malik Cunningham, they'll put him in there. Let's have some fun. Maybe they'll lose, but at least he's going to run around. He's going to throw on the run. It's going to be exciting and fun to watch them lose.
I thought in preseason he looked pretty, like you said, pretty fun to watch. He ran in some touchdowns. Like you don't see that with Patriots running or quarterbacks.
Well, and that's why Belichick wanted Fields, because Belichick loves mobile quarterbacks. In fact, Belichick, I think we can agree, he's the greatest defensive mind maybe ever. And yet, in his entire career, all the way back to the Giants, he's never figured out a way to stop mobile quarterbacks. He doesn't know how to defend it. And so his train of thought is like, well, if I can't defend it, then nobody can because I'm the best. So he wants a mobile quarterback. And I think that, although I don't know why he went with Bailey Zappi instead of Malik Willis, but anyways, we'll go there. Cunningham's fun. He's not the long-term answer, but Jaden Daniels will be the long-term answer. 6'4", cannon for an arm, 4.40. I think he's got 40 touchdowns, like 6 interceptions this year with LSU. Do yourselves a favor, guys. Go watch some YouTube videos of Jaden Daniels. This guy's electric.
He is. I'm going to say he's probably going to win the Heisman this year.
He might, yeah. And like I said, if he shows up at the combine at 210, number 1 pick, guaranteed.
And so is he going to declare for this year's draft?
I think he's a senior. He has to.
Okay. Well, that would be very interesting. Let me throw this out there. We were talking about this off air about, let's say the Bears get the number 1 pick and they pick Caleb Williams and they get rid of Justin Fields. You mentioned earlier about how the Patriots wanted Justin Fields. What if they picked up Justin Fields, and then drafted the guy you just mentioned.
I don't like that because I don't mind them going and getting Justin Fields. Like if Belichick says, "Hey, I got a phone call from the Bears. They know I wanted Justin Fields. I could get him for a second and a fifth, or like a second, maybe a second next year, or a third next year, or conditional next year." Then yeah, go get Justin Fields. Use your first round pick on Marvin Harrison. Now you got Justin Fields and Marvin Harrison. Way to go, Bill. But otherwise, I want Jaden Daniels in the top 3.
All right. So, but what do you think is going to happen? Do you think that Bill's going to pull the trigger on that?
Here's what I've been thinking about this, and Patriots fans are going to hate this. One, I do think the Bill is going to fall in love with Jaden Daniels, and I think every GM is going to be at the combine and the pro workouts, and that's why I said I think he's going to go number 1. If he's there for the Patriots, I do think Bill takes him in the top 3. I definitely do because I think that he is right up Bill's alley. If he's not, if it's Caleb Williams, and Patriots fans are going to hate this, I think Bill trades back, and I think he tries to get somebody like a J.J. McCarthy in round 2, or even a Michael Penix at the end of round 1. But I think he trades back because Bill loves to trade back for more picks.
Very interesting. So you see them drafting, or that's what you want them to do,
is to take Daniels. But if they don't, I don't think they're going. I think they're going to trade back.
All right. Okay, time for my 2-minute warning. Okay, so my Broncos have been on a hot streak, as Wayne has said, which I'm not going to say because I like keeping them under the radar.
Hottest team in the NFL.
Hottest team in the NFL, which I can't argue with at this point. We've won 5 in a row. We've beat some good teams, Chiefs, Bills, Browns. But now we have 6 more games, like I mentioned on my last 2-minute warning. We have 6 games coming up. We at least have to win 5 of the next 6 to make the playoffs. Hopefully. The AFC is very tough this year. And our next 3 games are all on the road. We have Houston on the road, the Chargers on the road, and then Detroit on the road. I feel like if we can get out of that 3 games, 2 of the 3, I think we're going to win the next 3, and we can possibly win those 5 of the 6 and make the playoffs. I'm just hoping that everything else goes our way. Colts lose, Texans keep losing. Basically, the help that we need to get us in the playoffs. And like I said last week, at this point, I just want to get us to get into the dance, see what happens. I think we have the ability to maybe win 1 playoff game. Who knows? But that's what I hope happens. Let's go Broncos country.
I always say that when you get to the playoffs, anything can happen. And we've seen that happen year in and year out. But here's the thing. The playoffs are going to be chocked full of really good quarterbacks. Obviously, Mahomes is going to be there. You're going to have Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen. All those guys are going to be there. When it comes to the playoffs, and a team like the Broncos, who started off as slow as they did, and like you said, having to be hot, not just now, they have to be hot through the rest of the year to get there. When it gets to the playoffs, teams like that make that run usually continue further based on their pass rush. Because everybody in the playoffs has a good quarterback. It's who can rush that quarterback, who can get him to make bad throws, sack him. How good is the Broncos pass rush? Is it good enough to make a deep run?
I think it is, but we're gonna play some tough teams. So I'm not saying that we don't have what it takes, but we are gonna play some tough teams in the AFC. My prediction is I see us winning at least 1 playoff game if we get there. And for us, after the last terrible 7 seasons that we had, us Bronco fans will take that and run with it to the bank.
Well, you posed a hypothetical for me surrounding my quarterback. I'm going to do the same for you. Obviously, people were not happy with Russell Wilson last year. This year, they weren't happy to start the season. They're starting to come around because he's been playing pretty good all year. But let me ask you this. The Broncos missed the playoffs by a game or whatnot. They've now missed the playoffs 2 years in a row. Russell Wilson is still under contract for the next 14 years. So who do you go and get a rookie quarterback? Or you just keep rolling the dice with Wilson? What do you do?
Well, I still think. Well, it depends on how we finish at the end of the year. Let's say we go 1 game short of the playoffs. I feel like that's still a successful year after the last 7 years that we've dealt with. I don't really blame Russell for last year. That was Nathaniel Hackett, as we can see that he's really doing really well with the Jets. Because he doesn't have his guy Aaron Rodgers there. I'm glad that I mentioned Aaron Rodgers, because that's also why I wanted to mention part of my 2-minute warning is that breaking news today, that he is in his 21-day window of coming back to practice with the Jets. Is he really going to come back to this tire fire?
So, if you ask me what Aaron Rodgers wants to do, yes. Right? If you ask me what Jets fans want, yes. But if you ask me what an intelligent person would do if you're in charge of the Jets, no. Because he's coming back from that injury. The last thing you want to do is have him come in for one game and hurt it again or hurt something else. You know what I mean? And especially, how much is he going to help you? Let's say he comes in perfectly healthy, not even soreness, just 100% Aaron Rodgers last year healthy, right? He hasn't taken any snaps with the team since preseason. You know, it's just, I don't. He's got 21 days before he can start practicing. So we're talking about getting a week of practice and then starting against an NFL defense that's heading into the playoffs. It's a bad recipe for him. Ride it out with Zach Wilson or whoever you want to ride it out with, and then do something next year with him.
I brought it up because I think the whole thing is absolutely ridiculous. I am like sick of hearing about Rodgers and his miracle freaking Achilles surgery or whatever. He wants to be a medical marvel in his stupid dark room and all this crap, dude. I'm so sick of Rodgers. I'm so sick of the Jets. Like, the dude should just shut it down, but he has to come out here and like, no, I'm my Achilles is I'm gonna play, when he doesn't need to play. Like, that just shows you how arrogant he is. Like, I'm so sick of it. But enough about him. I wanted to bring that up. But my Broncos are going to win 5 of the next 6. We are going to get in the playoffs. We probably, maybe, will win a playoff game. And that's what I have to say about that.
Okay. I mean, they might. So, I mean, I'm not going to say that they won't. They definitely have a better chance than my team. My team could win the next 5.
Speaking of our teams, Wayne, like I brought up off air, I think that we should do something fun. How about you? Have you ever seen the movie Trading Places?
Of course.
Okay, so we were talking about it, and in the movie, they do a gentleman's bet for $1, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so I suggest that me and you bet on the Broncos Patriots, a gentleman's bet for $1.
Okay. Can I take the Broncos?
No, sir, you can't.
Because I could just send you $1 now. Okay, that's going to be an ugly game.
It's Christmas Eve.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Ain't you going to be in the holiday spirit?
Yeah, I'm going to open pajamas because that's what we do every Christmas Eve is we open pajamas and we sleep in those until Christmas morning. So I guess I can always open my pajamas and then go upstairs, lay in bed, turn on the game, and watch my Patriots lose 42-3.
I don't know if it would be that bad, but like I kind of wish I would have got tickets for that game because I was like, man, I went to the Jets game this year and I really like. Speaking of Rodgers, you ruined it. I picked that game because I wanted to see him play, and then he gets hurt like a jackass. So, but in all reality, I've gone to every Patriots Bronco games for the last 7 years, and this will be the first time I haven't gone. So I'm kind of an idiot that I didn't pick this game to go to. So, bet on me.
Well, speaking of the Jets and bad bets, I made a bet before the season started. I was telling everyone the Patriots were going to win 11 or 12 games this year. And I told my my friend, Clem, he said, I bet the Jets have a better record than the Patriots because they've just gotten Rodgers. And I said, well, the Jets are going to jet. That's an easy bet for me. So I took the bet. We bet dinner. It's a $20 dinner. I'm going to lose it now. And when Aaron Rodgers got hurt in the first week, I was like, easiest money I've ever won. And little did I know how bad the Patriots were going to be this year.
$20, eh? That's not too bad. At least I guess that bet's worse than our dollar bet.
It is. So it's $20 for that, but I also have to buy him a second dinner because I bet that Keon White was going to be the defensive rookie of the year.
What are you doing, Wayne?
I had really high hopes for the Patriots this year.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
I'm going to have even higher hopes for him next year. Jaden Daniels, offensive rookie of the year.
And I think I was the complete opposite. I was like, man, I don't know if we're even going to win this many games, even with Sean Payton, seriously. Oh, man. Right. Okay, so let's bring up some topics that we were going to talk about, but we have some time to speak on. There's been discussions, Dak Prescott, possible MVP. What's your thoughts, Wayne?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's in the conversation. I think Jalen Hurts is in the conversation as well, especially as they keep winning games. They only have one loss. And I think especially because remember Kobe Bryant got the MVP award towards the end of his career, towards the end of his prime. but he didn't really deserve it that year. I mean, the Lakers were like 37-45 or something.
It was like a consolation prize, like we were talking about it before. Remember?
Yeah, it was. Well, it's like they had screwed him. He deserved the rookie, or he deserved the MVP when Steve Nash got his second one, and it should have been Kobe Bryant. So they were like, well, we can't let Kobe retire without ever getting an MVP. So that's his only MVP. Jalen Hurts, you can make the argument that he deserved the MVP over Patrick Mahomes last year. They gave it to Patrick Mahomes. So if it's close between Dak and Hurts, I think they give it to Hurts as a consolation for last year.
Yep, I would agree. And I think the only reason why Dak gets mentioned is because there's so much, it's disgusting to me, but love out there for the Cowboys. As I say that, I throw up in my mouth a little. Yeah, so I feel like that's the reason why a lot of this MVP talk is being brought up, because he's the Cowboy and they just smashed I can't remember. I don't know who it was, but it was another lousy team that they ran the score up on. So, yeah, I think this is all just because he's a Cowboy.
I think that he does get some Cowboy love, and I think that you have to remember, before he got hurt, or was it 2 years ago when he got hurt, like the 6th or 7th game into the year, and he was throwing for 400 yards a game, like before he got hurt. Like, it was like, wow, this guy's really incredible. And he kind of got cut down. And then, so now I think just to see him playing good, everyone wants Dak to be recognized for being good, because I do think as much Cowboy love as there is out there, there's a lot of Cowboy hate too.
Oh, yeah, I'm one of them.
So, I think that there are people who will not recognize Dak Prescott for being a great quarterback because he's a Cowboy. If he was on any other team, it would be like, yeah, Dak's pretty good. But because he's a Cowboy, it's like, no, Dak stinks. And I think that that's kind of part of it too, is like, hey, he's actually really good. We need to recognize him for being really good.
Okay, so another topic that we were gonna talk about. Brady mentioned that nowadays NFL play is mediocre. What's your thoughts, Wayne?
I understand what he's saying, and Tom is an old guy, and old guys tend to think that their generation is the best generation.
And but he wasn't in the league. He was in the league like 2 years ago. Like, come on.
Right. But he started back in the 30s. So the thing is, like, old guys always think that their generation is better. And I'm not even talking about just football, basketball. I'm talking like life. You get a grandfather, he'll tell you about his generation was the greatest generation, right? And then if you talk to your dad's going to say, my generation was the greatest generation. Everybody thinks that their generation is the greatest generation. Tom is the same way. So there's a lot of these old guys like Tom, like, especially with because this ties into the whole Kareem Jackson thing. With all these rules, defenseless receiver, quarterbacks basically wear flags now. Like, you have to tug of the flag, you can't sack them, all kinds of stuff. The game used to be a lot more violent than it is now. I think it's changed for the better. I like the player safety aspect of it. I like that you can't hit a guy who's coming over the middle if he can't see you coming. I like that.
But Brady also benefited from a lot of that, though, too.
He did, and I think he benefited as the rules changed because he knew how to play with the rules. But I think that, again, I think he liked that kind of rough and tumble game. And I think what he's mainly talking about, and this is where I actually agree with him, so I disagree with the whole old man sentiment, but I agree with him on this. Back in the day, you could practice every day. Like, you would have padded practices with helmets every day. Like, now they have rules where, like, you can't have padded practices 2 days in a row, things like that. And it's like, when you go out in the field, you do see sloppier play, more penalties, more dropped passes, more misreads, which probably wouldn't happen if you were allowed to have these guys actually practice. So that I agree with, that you're seeing a little bit of mediocrity on the field because they're not able to get those reps in practice anymore.
No, I agree with you when you say, I agree with a lot of what you say, but it's like, why does he have to say this now? It's like, dude, you're not that far removed from the game. Like I said, a lot of those rules, like he helped him along to stay how long his career was. So it's like, it's like he's like, is he getting ready for his Fox career? Is he putting his Fox hat on? He's like already ready to criticize the NFL.
No, I'll tell you why he's saying it now. Okay, is because think about growing up, right? Think about, like, did you ever have, like, your parents pack your lunch for you?
No.
Oh, you got school lunch? Okay. Well, but think about, like, a snack. Like, did you have, like, a favorite snack, like a Little Debbie snack or something like that?
Well, when I was in high school, I loved Cheetos.
Cheetos, okay. So that's fine. So Cheetos, so I'm sure that, like, you always get Cheetos for lunch, whatever, right? My question is, once you started working and you could buy your own food, didn't you go out and buy the biggest bag of Cheetos you could find?
Yes.
Right? Same thing
Yeah.
with, I love Little Debbie's peanut butter bars, right? So, and my mom used
Nutter
to
butters.
not the Nutter Butter, the peanut butter bars, the ones that have like a block of peanut butter and it's like a candy underneath, not the wafer one. It's
Oh,
chocolate.
okay.
But
All right.
but I used to get those. My mom would put one in my lunchbox when I got cold lunch. But I always wanted to eat like 6 of them. So as soon as I got a job and I could buy my own stuff, I would buy like 2 boxes of those and just eat them.
I think that's
So,
like an East Coast thing, Wayne, because I don't think we have those where I'm at.
oh, I'm not to send you a box of peanut butter bars. They're amazing.
Yeah, dude,
Um,
for sure. I love it. I love Reese's too.
so, anyways, the reason I'm making the correlation is because Tom Brady for 20 years was under Bill Belichick, and all you could ever say about anything is like, "Well, no, we tried our best. We're a good team. You know, we just got to work harder. We got to do." Hey, what about Tom? What do you think about the play and all these rules? Hey, I mean, we're all a team. We got to do all. We all play by the rules. We got to do our thing. And the minute he gets out from under Bill Belichick, and he can finally speak, it's like getting that big bag of Cheetos or those boxes of peanut butter bars. He's going to say everything.
Dude, you're right, because look at him being all drunk on tequila, like couldn't barely walk after the parade or his little boat celebration or whatever that was.
And I don't even know. How about that? Remember when he tossed the Lombardi Trophy?
Well, then he tosses the Lombardi. Yeah, he basically pulls a Gronk moment. I remember when Gronk got he hit the baseball with the trophy.
Oh, yeah.
He basically did the same kind of thing.
The trophy in Foxborough. When you go to Foxborough, you get the The
Is it
Patriots
still
Hall of
there?
Fame.
I was actually gonna ask you that.
Yeah, they still have the dent in the side of it where he hit the ball.
Like, is that something they can like get fixed or something? Like, I don't know why my mind goes there, but it's like they got to get that fixed.
I think that it's like now legend. It's now part of the whole thing.
Right, I get it, but it's like every time you go to see it now, you're gonna see this big old dented Lombardi trophy. You know, like
Right, and you're going to have the non-Patriots fans who are going to be like, "Oh, that's disrespectful," and they should. And then you're going to have all the Patriots fans going, Gronk, yeah."
Right. So you're okay with it then?
Yeah, I'm fine. I was fine with throwing it. I remember the lady who her dad, I think, makes the Lombardi trophies or designed it or something like that. She thought it was disrespectful of Tom to throw it from one boat to the other. And I was like, shut up. Like, did you get paid for it? You probably got some sort of multi-million-dollar inheritance. Just shut
They
up.
probably told her to say something, you know, like, "Oh, we got to have a statement of some kind that we don't like that."
I was like, I'll spike this effing thing to the bottom of the ocean. How do you like that?
I thought it was funny that when he throws it, you hear his little daughter go, "Oh no!" Like, sheer fear, dude. Like it was gonna go in the water.
And he throws it to Gronk, who was probably just as drunk as he was.
No, it wasn't Gronk. It was their other tight end.
Brate?
Who was it?
Cameron Brate?
Brate. That's it. That's who it was. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, hey, Tom Brady to the tight end. It always works out.
Right.
All right. Well, hey, that's our show, guys. Hopefully you liked it. Hopefully you liked the extended 2-minute drill. We ran ahead of schedule, which is great to have those extra topics in the back pocket there. Whatever
I'm glad we got them all in, Dwayne.
Yeah, I'm glad we got them all. And we're actually going to cut them up and make little TikToks and reels and everything. So if you're on Facebook or whatever, you see those reels, you're going to see us come up. Let us know what your favorite segment is. Was it talking about coaches, owners? Was it talking about quarterbacks? And then send us a message at NFL Experts Pod. You guys suck. You should talk about this. And we will.
For sure. Like, say anything. Criticism, positive, negative, anything. Just chime in. I'm going to keep saying that. Chime in. Send us comments. Send us messages. Any more content is must.
Absolutely. So thank you. Wednesday nights, 7 p.m. We're right here, Facebook and YouTube Live, or just go on YouTube and watch the episode if you miss it. Listen on Spotify. You can listen to the whole episode. I cut out the intro that goes boop, boop. You don't have to listen to that. Actually, if you are listening on Spotify, you're like, what the hell is he talking about? It's a live show thing.
And if you're on Spotify, feel free to give us a follow if you'd like, you know. And that way you can even get little notifications every time that our episodes pop up. It'll pop up on your notification on your phone. Bam, bam, bam.
That's right. And it should be Thursday. Every Thursday, it should pop up.
All right.
All right. Peace out, everybody.
All right, Wayne.